The Khitan people, or Khitai, Katan, or Kidan, were nomadic people originally from Mongolia and Manchuria from the 4th century that spoke a language distantly related to the Mongolic languages. As the Liao dynasty, they dominated a vast area north of and including parts of China, but left few relics that have survived until today. After the fall of the Liao dynasty in 1125, many Khitans moved further west and established the Kara Khitai in Central Asia, which was finally destroyed by the Mongol Empire in 1218. Etymology. There is no consensus on the etymology of the name of Kitan. There are basically three speculations. Feng Jiasheng argues that it comes from the Yuan chieftains' names. Zhao Zhenji thinks that the term originated from Jabei and means a place where Jabei had resided. Japanese scholar Otaja Matsuo considers Kitan's original name is Kidan, which means the people who are similar to the She people, or the people who inhabit among the She people. Various forms of the word Kitan survive in the many languages as the name of China. Examples: Bulgarian and Russian word for China, as well as in the Slovene language and in archaic English and French, Italian, Portuguese, Spanish and Mongolian appellations of the country. The use of the name Kitai to mean China or Chinese in such Turkic languages as Ukha is considered pejorative by the Han Chinese, and Chinese authorities have tried to ban it. History. They have different stories about their origin. According to Khitan records, their early ancestor was Qishao Khagan, a descendant of Tanshawai Khan of the Jabei state. Qishao Khagan was a divine man riding a white horse who floated down the Lower River and met Kidan, a heavenly maiden riding a cart drawn by a grey ox who had floated down the Xamoron River. At the intersection of the two rivers, at the foot of the holy Muya mountain, they met and mated, giving birth to 8 sons, the ancestors of the ancient 8 tribes of the Kitan. A temple with portraits of Khitan ancestors was built on Mount Muya, their holiest mountain. This story is somewhat similar to that of the origin of Genghis Khan, which speaks of heaven-born blue wolf and Phaedo crossing the sea and mating at the source of the Onan River, at the foot of Mount Burkhan Khildun, which became the holiest mountain of the Borjigan Mongols. The Kidan Guoji records a Khitan legend in its preface. There was a chief called Naiha. This chief was nothing but a skull hidden under a rug in a round felt tent, so that he was invisible. Only when something serious had happened in his state, a white horse and a grey ox were sacrificed to him, then he took on a human figure, and came out to deal with the affairs. After the affairs had been settled, he returned to the tent and became a skull again. He disappeared, for his countrymen peeped at him. Then there was another chief called Waihei who was also living in a round felt tent. He wore a boar's head and was clad in pigskin. When there was an action he came out, then he retired and hid himself again. Later it happened that his wife stole his pigskin, he abandoned her and nobody knew where he went. Then there was another one called Jolie Hunhi. He had raised 20 sheep. Each day he ate 19 and had only 1 left, but in the following day there were 20 again. These 3 chiefs were well known for their abilities in running their state. From Jabei origins, they were part of the Kumoshi tribe until 388. When the Kumoshi Kitan tribal grouping was roundly defeated by the newly established Northern Wei, allowing the Kitan to resume their own tribe and entity, and beginning the Kitan written history. In 630 Tang Taizong received the capitulation in southern Manchuria and eastern Mongolia from the Mongolic Khitans. From the 5th to the 8th centuries, they were dominated by the steppe power to their west and the Chinese to their south. Under this triple domination and oppression, the Kitan started to show growing power and independence. This rise was, compared to other cases, slow because it was frequently crushed by its neighboring powers, each using the Kitan warriors when needed. but each ready to crush them when the Khitan rose too much and became powerful, close to becoming an independent fourth regional power. The 696 to 697 Li Shun rebellion is really instructive on this 2 adults and 1 teenager game. The Khitan were encouraged by the Turks to take all the risks and revolt against the Tang, which they successfully accomplished, before being attacked at their rear by the Turks, to the great advantage of the newly reborn Second Turkic Empire. Enjoying the departure of Uyghur people for west, and the collapse of the Tang dynasty in the early 10th century, they established the Liao dynasty in 907. The Liao dynasty proved to be a significant power north of the Chinese plain, continuously moving south and west, gaining control over former Chinese and Turk-Uyghur territories. In 1005 Chanyuan Treaty was signed, and peace remained between the Liao dynasty and the Song dynasty for the next 120 years. During the reign of the Emperor Daozong of Liao, corruption was a major problem and prompted dissatisfaction of many people, including the Jurchens. The Liao dynasty eventually fell to the Jin dynasty of the Jurchen in 1125, who defeated and absorbed the Khitans to their military benefit. The Khitans considered the Khamag Mongols as their last hope when the Liao dynasty was invaded by the Jin, Song dynasty and Western Xia empires. To defend against the Jurchens and Khitans, a long wall was built by Goryeo in 1033 to 1034 along with many border forts. Following the fall of the Liao dynasty, a number of the Khitan nobility escaped the area westwards towards western regions, establishing the short-lived Kara Khitai or Western Liao dynasty, and after its fall, a small part under Burak Hajib established a local dynasty in the southern Persian province of Kerman. These Khitans were absorbed by the local Turkic and Iranian populations, Islamized and left no influence of themselves. As the Khitan language is still almost completely illegible, it is difficult to create a detailed history of their movements. Recent genetic studies and family genealogy researchers have substantiated the hypothesis that the Dor ethnic group of Inner Mongolia are possible descendants of the ancient Khitans, and the Yunnan Han Chinese clans of A, Mang, Jiang, plus dozens of other clans who self-identified as Yelu descents and were called Ben people by other Yunnan ethnic groups claim to be descendants of the Khitai. Furthermore, the Lu clan in a few dozen villages with the name Yelu Zhuang also claim descent from the Yelu clan of the Khitans. During the Liao period, ethnic Khitans were divided into 2 clans, Yelu and Xiao. Yelu was later Sinicized. The Dor language is classified as Mongolic. Dors and Simbaran people of Bara and Right Ban are direct descendants of the Khitans. Another ethnic group, the Kyrgyz, are also believed to be partially descended from the Khitans. The hairstyles of Simbaran women are similar to Khitans. All people of Kitai and Kitai tribes in Central Asia are the Khitans' descendants. Language and writing systems. The Katan language is a now extinct language once spoken by the Katan people. Katan is believed to be genetically related to Proto-Mongolic. There were 2 writing systems for the Katan language, known as the large script and the small script. These were functionally independent and appear to have been used simultaneously in the Liao dynasty. They were in use for some time after the fall of that dynasty. Examples of the scripts appeared most often on epitaphs and monuments, although the fragments sometimes surface. Many scholars recognize that the Khitan scripts have not been fully deciphered, and that more research and discoveries would be necessary for a proficient understanding of them, although there are several clues to its origins, which might point in different directions. The Khitan language is most likely a descendant of pre-Proto-Mongolic. The memorial for Yelu Yanning is one of the earliest inscriptions in Khitan large script. The Khitan, however, had 2 scripts of their own, and many Mongolic words are found in their half-deciphered writings that are usually found with a parallel Chinese text. There is no doubt regarding the Khitan being Proto-Mongolic. The Khitans considered the Khamag Mongols as their last hope when the Liao dynasty was invaded by the Tungusic Jin Empire, Chinese Song dynasty and Tanghut's Western Xia empires. Economy. As nomadic people, the Khitans originally engaged in stock breeding, fishing, and hunting. Looting southern Chinese villages and towns, as well as neighbor tribes, was also a helpful source of slaves, Chinese handcraft, and food, especially in famine times. Under the influence of the neighboring China, and following the administrative need for a sedentary administration, the Khitans began to engage in farming, crop cultivation and the building of cities. Different from the Chinese and Bala farmers, who cultivated wheat and sorghum millet, the Khitan farmers especially cultivated panicled millet. The ruling class of the Liao dynasty still undertook hunting campaigns in late summer in the tradition of their ancestors. After the fall of the Liao dynasty, the Khitans returned to a more nomadic life. Religion. The Khitans' original religion was a veneration of numerous natural phenomena that were thought to be divine, above all the sun. Thus, the Liao emperor faced the east, where the sun rises, rather than the south as Chinese emperors did. Because the Kitan gave ritual priority to the left, the north was given priority over the south. Though the founding emperor Abaoji ordered the construction of Buddhist, Confucian, and Taoist temples, successive emperors embraced Buddhism. A noticeable increase in devotion to Buddhism can be traced to the reign of Emperor Shenzong. Within a century, local government offices report that there were 360,000 monks and nuns in 1078, representing about 10% of the population. Even if exaggerated, it is clear that Buddhism was an integral part of Liao life. Literature. Very few relics of Khitan poems and literature are preserved, and even fewer texts or fragments in the Khitan language. Because the Khitan language is not fully reconstructible, there are still many difficulties in understanding Khitan language documents. Although Khitan scripts existed, the use of them was limited. Khitans, like ancient Vietnamese, Korean, and Japanese people, also adopted Chinese characters as their writing system. They wrote a large part of their literature in Chinese, especially political documents. The Chinese official history book for the Liao dynasty, Liaoshi, compiled in the Yuan dynasty, is based upon some earlier, veritable records, compiled during the Liao period.